Okay, let's start. This is a call to order of the Bridgeport Board of Education's Facilities Committee. Today is Tuesday, October 5th, and the time is noted as being 6:34 p.m. Present are myself, John Weldon, Committee Chair, Justice Hvac, Committee Member. Committee Member Albert Benahan is not present, and there are no other board members present. At the staff level, we have Superintendent Michael Testani and Facilities Director George Garcia.
We're just walking up now.
Mr. Benahan is on his way, so we'll wait, let him get in the room.
Well, there's a little tape delay here.
I noticed that.
But they're being live. Just how I pulled it up, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I
It's
just,
just interesting that
The public is like a minute, 30 seconds.
good.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Hey, son, inappropriate, shut it down.
just like live TV.
Live, right, just like live TV.
Like, okay, we're going to resume the meeting. Record reflect Mr. Benahan, committee member, has entered the meeting. Time is 6:36 p.m. First item on the agenda is approval of minutes, May 3rd, 2021 meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
By Mr. Benahan, is there a second?
I'll second.
By Mr. Hvac. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, this is approved. Next is presentation of efforts to reopen schools for the 2021-2022 school year. This is Mr. Garcia's presentation.
Good evening, everyone. So,
One second, Mr. Garcia, before you begin, I just want to preface what's about to be reported on. I cannot thank George, Bobby, Mike, Alan Porzel, Dan Galuli, Jose Pagan,
Washington, Paul.
Paul Washington, missing one person. I think that's
Pretty much everything.
pretty much, and the rest of the team in building operations and facilities. I mean, the amount of work that has been accomplished, both on the interior of our buildings and the exterior over the last couple of months has been a huge undertaking, as well as we mentioned, the intake and the distribution to all our sites of PPE and cleaning supplies and sanitizing supplies has been, I think, unprecedented. And, I think it needs to be noted that these folks have really worked 24/7, literally, in response. We've had a few storms over the last couple of months that needed immediate response and attention in order to keep schools open. So a big, round of applause, kudos, whatever you want to say. These gentlemen have gone above and beyond. And also with the support of Michelle Otero, who outside of planning and prepping for the Bassett Building project has also stepped in on a number of projects and liaison with the state when it comes to oil tanks and roofs and a number of other things. Just that needs to be said. It really does.
Okay.
I agree with you, Mr. Stani. You guys did an amazing job.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything.
Appreciate that. The team's really stepped up. We had a conversation earlier about how this was a summer for the record books. We never experienced anything like we've experienced this summer. It's not just preparing for COVID. When everything hit, when COVID first came out, we used the mover to move everything and distribute everything from the classrooms to storage spaces. Unfortunately, due to the lack of staff, we couldn't have outside vendors give us a hand this summer. So not only did the custodial staff have to do their traditional work, they also had to go ahead and move all that furniture and reestablish all the classrooms, which was a huge undertaking. And at the leadership of the superintendent, we went ahead and purged the district in a way that we haven't in years, and we needed to. We've gotten a lot of square footage back. We've got a lot of spaces that had just been cluttered over years back, and we're looking to now transform some of those spaces back into learning spaces and put it back into the program. So, I really got to thank the team for stepping up and doing everything they've done this summer, because it was definitely one for the record books. So I wanted to start off by just giving you guys a picture of the staffing of the department, because the staffing has changed drastically over the years. So we put a little graph together to give you a sense. We try to find what historical data there was. If you look at 2013 versus 2021, there are some big variances in staffing. The management team in 2010 had 9. Currently, it's myself, Bobby, and Mike really managing everything. And then we've got, our support staff, Mike Zirkle. We've got our support staff and Alan Porzell and Paul Washington and Jose Pagan. But, when it comes down to the folks that really have to carry the water, there's 3 of us at this point. Support staff has really dwindled down to 3. When you think about support staff, you think about all of the information that we want to capture and make sure that we have, so we can have that historical data, track trends, and really understand how we can have an effect not only on the cleanliness, but also on the program. How can we close the gap in areas that need to be addressed? And that support staff really helps in those efforts. Closing on work orders, making sure that our energy data is captured properly. We want to go back to the Energy Star model and start to really understand how our consumption looks. We really don't have the capabilities at this point, but we're finding creative ways to do it. Our trade staff is down to 18 and a half. The district is a very large district. Industry standards call for about 45 trade staff for the square footage, but these guys are working their tails off and really doing a tremendous job at holding things together. And then the custodial staff, which is really the critical piece, because when you look at the individual sites, we've got buildings that would have had 4 that have 2. We have 1 building that should have had 3 that has 1. We're trying to make do with what we have, but it's becoming very difficult. And folks have to work overtime, not because they want the money, but there's a need at this point just to keep these buildings going and keep them up to the level that we need to make sure to maintain that. I'll go back to the
Thought of getting maybe like a floater.
yes,
Too.
yes. So
Michael.
we just had a staffing meeting to discuss some different opportunities and options for ourselves. So maybe mirroring the security sub guard to have a sub custodian to help fill the gap for us. Making additional hires so we can start to fill those voids in these buildings that are just grossly understaffed. So we've started that conversation. The superintendent's made sure to make everyone available to us, and he's got everyone in a room to have the conversation, HR, labor relations, civil service. So we're starting to move in the right direction. The pace is slow though. There's a lot of folks that are still working from home on the city side, which is a hindrance. And there's a lot of silos that we have to work with, where if an individual is tied up or on vacation or what have you, we just can't move the ball. So when things leave the department, we get a little nervous because we have no control over it. But the superintendent's done a tremendous job of keeping things going in the right direction.
We're looking to hire 10 custodians. That's what
Yeah.
we know at the very least 3 years from now, if there was significant challenges, because as Mr. Sokolovic's mentioned, the cliff, we would be able to absorb those into our budget based simply on attrition. We are going to add, and labor is going to work with the union to have a certain percentage, like with school security as sub guards, as George mentioned. And also George has come up with a great plan for a work study program where we can utilize high school students to help support some cohorts of elementary schools in high visibility areas in terms of helping out as well as a mentoring to it. So.
Yeah, and I think that's a powerful piece to all of this. Back in the day, we used to have an internship program that ran through the summer. We worked with the trades. We actually were working with Bullet Havens at the time, and we'd bring in nine kids every summer, paid internship, and they'd go through the whole entire department. So every trade, and then they'd spend some time with the support staff. Then they'd ultimately spend some time with myself, and then we'd have a resume building program for them and an interview prep. So when they left, they had something to put on their resume. They understood how to go about, interviewing. And it was a powerful program. We did it for about 3 years. We've actually hired some of the students from that program. Some of them are still with us. Some of them are some of our greatest assets at this time. So there's value in seeing how these children or these folks are progressing and then saying, look, they're a good fit for us. But, you don't want to say, okay, you're going to be a custodian and that's it. So we looked at it from a different perspective as we're starting to develop this program. Every month or twice a month, we want to have a PD day for them. So, we want to bring in a resume prep, interview prep, bring in the building trades to let them know what doors are open to them, and so on and so forth. We have all these opportunities with the manufacturers that provide the resources to us, and they have all this training and all these additional resources. We've got to tap into it, and we've got to find a pipeline to say, all right, this kid is doing well. He's not going to go to college. He's looking for work. This is an ideal place for him, and then we can hire these folks full time. We got to build a pipeline for ourselves. That, along with the part-time custodial idea, gives us the ability to see these folks in action in advance of hiring them full time, and there's value in that for us. One of the things that we have is not only do we have staffing issues, we've got a talent issue, right? We've got folks that really are 1 foot in, 1 foot out, don't follow the best practices, and we're starting to weed those folks out. We're providing additional training. We're giving them all the opportunities to succeed. But at one point, we know that we've got to do what we got to do to get rid of the dead weight here, because we just don't have the kind of folks to go around to pick up someone else that's not doing what they got to do. And then the final piece on the staffing is the logistics team. The logistics team plays a vital role in the district. All of the mail, like the superintendent said, PPE, custodial supplies, furniture moves, anything, materials from school to school, they handle all of that. On top of that responsibility, the logistics team also does landscaping. So a component of that team does the daily landscaping along with an outside contractor. So we're looking, as we hire, to build this team up a bit, probably another staff member or two. And then we're probably going to look to reorg the department some to make ourselves a little more efficient and a little more nimble to be able to deal with the day-to-day changes that come along with the district this size. So that's the staffing component.
Can I get a question about the staffing?
Absolutely.
Level? Yeah, it appears from 2010 to 2021, we lost 56% of the management team, 50% of support staff, about 28% of trade staff, and about 20% of custodial staff. How come we didn't maintain the levels we had? How come we don't have all the people we need?
Well, I'm going to venture to say, as part of budgetary cuts, that department's probably been hit the hardest. As well as since that time, we've opened more schools.
Yes.
Newer buildings, larger buildings. And unfortunately, that's where we've seen the biggest impact.
We've got an increase in square footage and a decrease in staff.
Absolutely.
So
We wonder why there's overtime costs. We wonder why we have workman's comp claims. And if, as George mentioned, when we do the new hires, I think it's important that we have a better process in hiring. Nepotism and all those other kind of hiring practices are done.
So the effect of the budget cuts that we've suffered for the last few years due to underfunding not only affect pedagogy, but also the building surroundings and the health and maintenance of our buildings.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. And of the 150, we've got about 132 that are actually working, because you've got your compensations, you've got your retirements. So, it's really not a true 150 that we're currently working with. So there's a little bit of magic going on right now to keep the district going. But once again, the staff has stepped up. They see the commitment we're putting in them. They're excited about that. And, we've Now we've just got to follow through with those additional hires and continue to support the folks that are really putting the rubber to the ground.
I think to your point, Mr. Sokolovic, there is a diminished return on those cuts when you start adding up all the other things that George just mentioned. So you may think you're making a $500,000 cut to the budget, but over time, that $500,000 is not real.
Right.
Because you're paying overtime. You got folks out on compensation, which costs us the money. And in the end, you're just burning out the folks that really put 110% every single day.
Okay.
The second slide is summer projects. So there's two parts to this because the summer project list was astronomical. So there's the spreadsheet that we have that really depicts everything. It gives you all the nitty gritty and all the detail. But I wanted to highlight some areas of this because if we went through this, we'd spend the whole night here. So some of the big projects that we did this summer, we repointed 4 buildings, which were in dire need. I mean, you had buildings that were just taking water in like a sponge. So when I came back, we decided to look back at old capital accounts, and we found several accounts that still had money in them. We went ahead, created projects, got project codes established, and started actually allocating those dollars. So we're talking capital from 2013, 2015, the last time I was here, believe it or not. So we were able to do a lot of things that we didn't think we'd be able to do, that we were sort of planning out for the following year. And one of those major projects that we did was repointing. We did repointing of Madison School. Hallen School is ongoing right now. Hall School and Madison,
Bryant.
Hall, Hallen,
Bryant.
yes. So we've stopped the water from infiltrating, right? That's the first step. We're creating a better environment for the staff. And then, as we start to watertight these buildings, in some instances, they get space back. So for Hall, they're going to get 2 classrooms back, I believe, because we stopped water from coming in that side of the building. So that was a major project for us. Gym floors haven't been done in probably 3 to 4 years. So we put a program wrapped around recoating and refinishing gym floors. There's a safety factor that goes along with that. If the floors are not recoated, then it's a slip factor. So I can't believe you haven't had lawsuits up until this point, but we've gotten 7 done, and I think it's 17 more going to be done over the holiday. So every single gym floor in the district will be up to the snuff in terms of recoating and safety. We're going to pick a gym or 2 a year to sand down and redo. This summer we did Blackham School. So that means we took everything down to the bare wood. They redid the lines and recoated. The gym looks phenomenal at this point. I couldn't get pictures, but if you get a chance, take a look, and I can send you folks pictures also. You couldn't really see the lines, right? So now the kids walk in, they're like, wow, our gym looks fabulous. That's what we want to do as part of facilities and play a role in the experience here. Playgrounds, we put new fiber down in every playground in the district. Once again, we understand that children need to be outside, and we want to give them every opportunity to be out there, but be safe. The district was in dire need of replacement of fiber. We've hit every single school in the district. We're looking to demo the trailer over at Marin as a test case, because as we start to create new space within these buildings, we can start getting rid of some of these dilapidated trailers that are really a money pit and a hazard. So Marin is giving us our first lesson on what it's going to take, how much time, how much money, and what the process will be. So that's ongoing now. The Marin roof has been completed. We replaced the fire alarm per the fire department this summer. We were able to pull it off over our classical studies. That was also old capital money that we were able to shift around. Reed School, we did all water shutoffs through a whole entire facility. That was a major problem because anytime we had to shut the water off for any one component, the whole building needed to be shut down. And when you turn it back on, you get brown, sooty water throughout the whole entire facility, where you have to purge water for hours to get it back to clear. So we did shutoffs and a water filtration systems. Reed is now in a good state. And then when we look at our facilities, we can't just look internally. We got to look externally. There's several parking lots that need to be repaved. So we started looking at the parking lots that were on the fringe. We knew we had to do some maintenance to save them. So we crack sealed 4 parking lots: Batala, Aqua, Harding, and Johnson. And we're going to be restriping Battalion and Johnson also as part of this program, because right now they have no lines for parking. We created the Welcome Center this summer. The team knocked that out the box nice and early in the summer so we can move folks in and get that all done. Also, the SOAR program over at Dunbar, we had to do some reconfiguration over there, and we were able to make that happen for them. And then as teachers want to open these windows and let more fresh air in, there was a need for screens. So we rescreened all of Reed, the first floor Allen, and we're working on Hooker now. So that'll be ongoing now. We'll continue to look to rescreen buildings so teachers feel comfortable in opening those windows. Painting, there's in this packet, you'll find 2 different painting listings. One is for our internal painters. So we have 1.5 painters. They've done a tremendous job this summer of being pulled all over the place and making things happen. But we also worked out a deal with the Painters Union, the MOU. We're able to bring in 3 unionized painters for the summer. And we've hit dozens of schools at this point. And Blackham's almost completely been repainted at this point. We've really enhanced the look of the district and really got us to a point where we feel now we can start to do maintenance and keep up with it to a certain extent. We had a furniture donation by Sila, which was huge for us because we were able to outfit the Welcome Center, some furniture in the SOARS program, and I think early childhood in City Hall was reconfigured also. And that was all done through a donation from Sila. It was an old connection from some volunteer stuff we used to do back in the day. They collapsed back to their DC office and they gave us $125,000 worth of furniture for nothing. We still do have sit-to-stand desks. We're looking at creative uses for those desks. But, you know, we're able to outfit a good portion of these new program spaces for nothing, thanks to Sila. And then the HVAC assessments. One of the biggest challenges in a district this size, and Bridgeport specifically, is HVAC. It's a huge component of expenditure and of what we do on the trades end of business. It takes up a lot of time and effort. So we completed all the assessments, and now we're going to be digging into those assessments. Right now, it's a 30,000-foot view of what we have, and we're going to be digging in with our engineering firm starting next week to figure out what we need to do to start to address the issues. Not change parts, not fix something for today, but what is a long-standing solution for the issues that we currently have. This assessment gives us the kind of data that we need to really dig in and figure out what these problems are. So we're excited about that. So the next piece, energy conservation. It's a big thing for us. Last time I was here, me and Mike really worked hard at energy conservation. We won several awards and we look to continue on that path. You know, part of the reorganization is utilizing Mike more as an energy manager, because if we've got to find money for additional staffing or for additional things to happen within the department, I don't want to have to go for a request before I understand every single dollar in the department and we're squeezing every single dollar out of the department. So that includes energy conservation. So through UI, we worked on a program to start 6 schools this summer. Of the 6 schools, 2 are complete, 1 is ongoing. Mike, maybe you could take this part and sort of go over what schools and give us the overview on energy.
So with we're working with UI is footing 80%, I believe, of the project costs. Hooker School has been completed, Blackham School is completed, Batala is in progress now, and Beardsley, Blackrock, and Skane will be done by the middle to end of November. And this is just retrofitting all existing light fixtures to LED. The savings is predicted to will be $186,000 a year in electrical savings.
That's just
for
6
those
schools.
6 schools. The total for those 6 schools.
Wow. And Mike's done additional efforts to get us to about 242 in savings for the efforts that we put into the district this year. And our goal is to continue this effort. We've already got 6 schools assessed and ready to go. I've been in constant conversation with UI. Their rebate program, their Distressed Cities program was a one-shot deal. So I'm trying to shame them into doing another program with us. I've reached out to some of our legislators to see if they're willing to support us in that conversation with UI. We're starting to get buy-in on that. The goal would be to continue to roll out schools 6 at a time. We also want to look at comprehensive packages with UI, so not just lighting, but HVAC. We're doing a chiller over at, Tisdale. We should roll that into a lighting project also and maybe do controls. We're gonna be doing the same at Batalla. We're already looking at a project at Curial that's including boilers. What we want to do is want to save $750,000 to $1 million for 5 years. That's real money. That's money that is currently budgeted that we'd love to reallocate to strengthen the department and find other creative ways to save money and really drive home what it is that we try to do and be partners in the educational program. And then you've got a little more detail on the energy conservation efforts that we put through with the buildings that are audited and that are currently underway. And then health and safety, right? The main thing that every day, every conversation.
Sorry, yeah, I got a question on this part before we go on. The lifespan of the equipment that was changed out, I see like the first one you said is, like the first one, it's like an 8 year to recoup the investment. How long does
Well, it's not 8 years because remember, they paid 80%.
right, yeah, I did, the division with, what number is it?
So these are total costs.
Right. Okay, so how long does it take to recoup our investment and will?
May I speak?
Yeah, well, that's the shit.
Yeah, go ahead.
I believe you're looking
I
at
don't
your,
know.
or if you would.
I was just looking at the first page, maybe I calculated. I think cost minus expensive expensive received divided by annual electrical. Oh, wait, no, okay, it's looking. That one, I made a calculation.
If
The question-
at Beardsley School, the project cost is almost $57,000. The UI incentive is $45,500. So the cost to the district is the $11,000, which is financed at 0% with UI. We've automatically have a positive cash flow out of it. And the annual savings of electricity is going to be 12,000. So the project cost is 11,000. 1 year savings is 12,000.
Okay, yeah, that was to my point. I just wanted to make sure, because sometimes you make a big investment in some plant or equipment, and before you achieve your savings, it's not.
So what we also did, UI was gracious enough to give us a 2-year financing package for the 20%. So we have positive cash flow, year one on that. So we felt that was important. We wanted to feel the impact of that. A lot of times, it's impact is later. We need impact now. This district needed shock therapy, and this is, a program like that helps us achieve that.
And this
Quality of life.
Yesterday, just at Reed School in the cafeteria, changing out the lights. He's gonna show you the picture.
That's Clater School.
Oh, Clater,
Now, Clater we did in-house just because we were gonna swap some things out. We said, well, let's go to LED. It doesn't make sense. And we get some reimbursable dollars on this through a program that we're with. But if you look, this picture here, this one shows you, this is the old lights. This is LED. Look at the difference in the color of the wall. You actually see the white paint. The enhancement of the building and the principles are just ecstatic of the quality of light. It makes you feel like, you want to be up and you want to work,
This is Reed's cafeteria before and after yesterday.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a major difference.
Oh,
That's a different wow.
That's get involved in like soft white versus bright white. Well,
We-
no, because it makes
It does.
the difference in the quality of light.
Yeah, we go with bright, right?
That picture depicts the quality of light very well at Clater, because if you look at the wall, the wall is almost yellow on one side or tan on one side of the gym, and
Well, no, yeah, but I'm saying like bright white, soft white can give a softer, less harsh thing,
yes.
without deteriorating the level of light with the foot candles. So do you use soft white or bright white?
These are going bright.
Bright white.
Yes, especially in gym area, hallways, you've better color rendering with them.
Okay.
Not,
Like I would not want a bright white bulb in my house. I've had it.
I don't even turn
Dark.
on my fluorescence in my office. So, energy is a place that we are going to continue to explore every option. We're meeting with large industry professionals like Johnson Control, a company of scientists. We're looking at JFK and think it's so outside the box that maybe they bring in a fuel cell and we buy energy from them, and then we flip that savings for them to build out a whole new HVAC system and manage it for us. So the 4 guys that I got have one less facility to deal with. But we're thinking outside the box, and this is why the reorganization pieces that you'll start to see over the coming months are important, because giving Mike that time to do that work is important because the value's there. And, you know, we want this to be part of the learning component, right? So Johnson Control has an educational component that they talked to me about, and I've got to present to the superintendent, where they may help with BASIC if you want to do something with electrical and come in and build out a whole entire lab for us. So there's a lot of opportunities out there. If you're going to do business with us, you need to do something for Bridgeport. That's just how it goes. If we're going to spend $1 million with you, you need to do something to give back. It's only right, you know? So we're holding these folks' feet to the fire. Air purification. So CDC requires three air exchanges to comply with their recommendations and learning spaces. HVAC aside, as you know, we're still dealing with HVAC and trying to get that to where it needs to be, but we have a lot of schools that don't have complex HVAC systems, but we still need to find a way to provide those 3 air exchanges. We have a COVID committee who meets regularly, and one of the charges was that we needed to find an air purification system that can move enough air to get us to that minimum of 3 air exchanges. So we had 6, 7, 8 different versions of air purifiers, and we settled on fellows for 2 of the 3 phases. The first phase was the cafeterias. We wanted to make sure that the most used part of the facility was being addressed early on. Part of the conversation with air purification is lead times. When can we get these units? How complex are they? How difficult are they to install? So we went with fellows on these first 2 phases. So in phase 1, we're using AM4s, which is that unit there, twice the size, mounted on a wall, and it moves air at each unit 1,500 square foot plus minus, and it achieves anywhere from 3 to 6 air exchanges an hour. It has 3 filters: a pre-filter, a carbon filter, and then a HEPA filter. The gauge tells you on the bottom any VOCs or bad air or anything that's volatile in the air. It'll give you the number or the percentage parts per million on the bottom. The top number tells you when it's coming out, if it's clean or not. You want 0 at the top. So currently right now we're running clean air in here, and we can see that. And we wanted to make sure that there was a gauge on these units for teachers to see, for students to see, for parents to see that there is safe air in this environment that they're currently in.
I can tell you from the time they put the test unit in my office, the amount of dust on the furniture has declined dramatically. I would come in every other morning, have to wipe down tables and everything. Now it's like every 7 or 8 days that there's a little bit of dust. I mean, it's actually really cleaning the air.
It's gonna be in each room, classroom.
So phase 1 is every cafeteria. Currently we have 80 units. We've got 3 buildings left, and the whole entire phase 1 will be completed. Phase 2 is already underway. We've got 422 units out, and every single classroom in the district is going to have it. Now, when we say classroom, we went out, our team has gone out and verified classroom spaces, because, you know, we can't put this just anywhere. We've got to make sure that we're providing where you're going to have students. So if you've got if you've got a space that has 1 person in it, you know, a unit like this is overkill. So wherever there's a classroom space in every school, we've identified, and we're putting one of these in. So the way it works is that each classroom is going to get one. Our custodians go in, they put the unit in, they plug it in, they verify that it's working, they sign off that the unit is in the classroom, that it's working, and they do that throughout the whole entire school. Then we verify it, and then we give a copy of this to the principal, so she has her roster of what's in her building, and we have a copy also. So now we have asset tracking on all of these units. We know where they are, and we know that they're operational, because that's important. We don't want a box that's not working, right? So we're verifying everything as we roll these out. We're looking to have these all completed by the end of next week, believe it or not. The team has been very, very good at wanting to get this out. They see the mission, they understand the mission. And one of the things that these guys thrive on is that. A project where they could look back and see that something was completed, and that's important. And that's what we're trying to do, because it's building that momentum and that and that morale that we really need. So phase 3 of the project is main office is the nurses' offices. And we're going with a different unit, which is a little bit, it's more of a stand-up unit. It's for 450 square feet, so ideal for for offices and nurses' spaces. So once again, nurse's office, want to make sure that she has one, and the main office has one. And then phase 4 is us sort of taking stock of everything that we've done and then figuring out where the gaps are and filling those gaps. So we've got a really good plan wrapped around making sure that this is something that brings value and really safeguards everyone that comes into the buildings.
Yeah, can you tell me the price of that?
Those units are around $1,200.
That one?
That one.
What about the?
The Bissell units are 310. And then I believe they're like 1,500 or 1,700. 1,700 for the large.
So in total, you spent how much on these?
Around
The Bellows ones, I think, was 1.7 million.
Yeah, 1.7, and then it was 50,000 or something for Bissell. We utilized ESSER funding. It was pretty seamless, actually. We went with Eastern Bag and Paper, who was a large $1 billion company, because they can support the units. If there's any issue, it's not them coming out trying to repair it. Yeah. $1 billion company, believe it or not. They just got bought up. They're no longer in the South End.
But that same one that wasn't.
Yes, yep. Their support is phenomenal. So they won't come on a repair unit, they will come on a replacing unit. I mean, that was the edict. If we're gonna do this, we need to know that these things are up and running. I need a unit within 24 hours if something goes down. And that's how we ensure, right? We gotta hold people accountable. You can't come do business here if you're not gonna be honest and face forward with
I think
this.
the other big component to this is that some other folks will sell a product in the classroom. It's not conducive to teaching and learning.
Yes.
That's as loud as it gets, which I think is extremely important for teachers in a classroom, not to have to talk over a motor. And air purification was a commitment that we made. And it's been a hot topic at the state level in terms of opening schools.
Question, say every classroom has all the units running, computers running, electrical infrastructure to handle?
Yes, so we went through every scenario with these units, each and every one of them, all the ones that we looked at. The power draw is minimal, which is great for us, because in some instances, some of these buildings don't have much more capacity. So that was a big factor for us. So Fellows, the amperage on Fellows fits where we need it to be, and the decibel level. Because as you can imagine, trying to exchange that much air, some of these units are kind of loud. And that was a balancing act for us.
Question, Mr. George, it's great. I don't care about the price. When it's about the healthy and be sure everybody's safe and good, I don't care the price of that. That's good. But how hard this machine can work when we have the other one in the building, they are now, the filter from the building and the filter of this one, how are they gonna be working?
It's actually enhances the current HVAC system, because we're exchanging that much more air.
Gotcha.
Just to touch on our traditional HVAC systems, I was reading some stories about the horrors of filters. When COVID hit, people really started looking at HVAC from a different perspective. And districts really got jammed up with the fact that they didn't consistently change air filters in their HVAC systems. One thing I say about Bridgeport is we do this religiously, quarterly, and everyone has to sign off on it, and everything's verified. Our orders come in seamlessly, and we know that our filters are changed regularly. And that's a big factor for us trying to combat any kind of pandemic, whether it's H1N1, COVID, the flu. That's all very important for the school district.
So the machine that will tell you it's time to change the filter, they will let you know.
So yes, this machine will tell you when you need to change the filter.
Okay.
filters need to be changed. There's one filter that needs to be changed every 6 months. So that's going to be on the regular filter change schedule. And then there's the secondary filter needs to be changed once a year. So that we just build into our current filter change schedule. So it's seamless and the guys, it's part of the program.
All right, thank you.
How much do these filters?
Don't know the cost. The cost for the filters wasn't crazy. They're pretty standard. The carbon filter, I can't tell you I can get you the numbers though.
Order of magnitude,
Do you remember? what the-
50
It
bucks,
was less than 100.
20, less than 100,
Less than 100, I would
Okay.
guess, I think around 60.
60.
But you said every 6 months they change it?
One filter, 6 months, the other filter, 1 year.
That's good.
Yeah, so the filters, they last. And if they're, for some reason, they're in an area where there's a lot of hollow compounds, it'll tell us that it needs a filter change.
Okay.
You know, there's no guessing game with this thing.
Did she stop, did she stop, if the filter is not changed, did she start automatic, like she's not gonna keep cleaning the air or?
It's gonna give us an alert.
Okay.
The screen will turn red.
Okay,
And at that point, you know, our custodians will be informed that the screen is red and we'll make the filter changes.
gotcha. All right, thank you.
So the next one is HVAC. So we did the assessment. We're gonna be digging in next week. We're looking to utilize ESSER funding to do the major repairs that the district needs. You know, we've got a lot of issues out there with AC, as you all know. I'm sure you get the complaints. You know, we change parts as best we can. We've got 4 guys for a district of 4 million square feet or 3,600 square feet, 30.
Over 4.
Yeah, just over 4 now. So that's a tall task for an HVAC team. Gonna help us, because I want to get on a maintenance program. If we could get ahead on some of these schools and get them onto a maintenance program where now we're staying on top of it. We start from too far back to catch up. You can't get your arms around it. So the assessment's helping us and we'll start to dig in. The Tisdale chiller, that's out to bid. We have a walkthrough tomorrow and that'll be delivered and installed before the next cooling season. Once again, we're looking at this potentially with UI to do something comprehensive and save some money, maybe get some money back on the chiller. This was a capital expenditure from the city of Bridgeport. We have some pending designs. We're going to be designing the Batala chiller. Once again, looking at UI with this. We have a design for Cross, and for AC at Cross, and we're doing a design for AC at Columbus. Once those are done, we'll put bid docs together, get it out, see what the cost is, and then, you know, we'll sit down and discuss whether we're going to move forward with it through ESSER funding. But there is a need to have more air-conditioned schools. I mean, you know, especially for the summer months when we have our summer programs, we'd love to see all of those programs going to an air-conditioned school. On the boiler front, we redid boilers at Skane, Hall, and at Blackham. Blackham is 95% complete. There are some minor components that need to be put in to complete those boilers. And then at Curial, all the pre-work is done, new slab, all the piping, everything is done, and the units will be delivered next week. They'll drop the units, install them, fire them up, and we should be good to go. So we've got a good handle on the winter months. This is our time to really work on HVAC, believe it or not, because now the heat sort of runs more stable. So it gives us the ability to look at the more complex portion of our HVAC systems, which is our chiller plants and our VAV boxes and everything else. We're starting to get a better handle on HVAC. Storm Ida, as the superintendent said earlier, we had a storm roll through that really hit us hard. We didn't get water in places that we typically do, and we got water in places that we never get water, just because of the way the rain was driving. So classical studies, Annex is a low point in that neighborhood. We had sewage rise up. So we had to shut the building down for a day or two, and we had to bring in a specialist to come in and sanitize the whole entire building, hit it with enzymes, get it back up to where it needed to be in order to reopen. And then we had to do abatement of the tiles and a couple of carpets. We did asbestos abatement over a weekend, tested on a Sunday. We're ready with the positive, with negative testing for Monday so we can open the building. Once again, the staff really worked their tails off. When I say we've literally been working 7 days a week, as much as we don't want to, we have no choice. So classical studies, Annex, that was the first one. Classical studies, they also got hit pretty good. We had to have an outside contractor help support us to get the water out. And then JFK, we had a lot of water in the band room. We had to have them, outside company come in, sanitize everything, extract carpets. And then High Horizons, their cafeteria got hit pretty severely. We had to shut the caf down for a week and we had to do an abatement. So we abated all of the tile. So we took that as an opportunity. We're always looking at the latest technology and seeing ways that we can sort of bring down the need for the FTE and sort of reduce the need to constantly have to work on something. So there's a product called LVT, which is luxury vinyl tile. It's a tile that's very resilient and doesn't need to be stripped or waxed. And it looks fabulous. And it comes in all kinds of designs. I'm a fan of it right now. At first, I wasn't sold. So we decided we wanted to do a test case. Perfect opportunity. We had to rip up the tile anyway. So we put LVT. So if you get an opportunity to go to High Horizons, take a look at it. It's attractive looking tile, but it doesn't have to be stripped and waxed. So that saves the guys time in the summer. So the goal for us is, and we've gone out to Middletown to look at install that was done 3 years ago and an install that was done a year ago to see how they're holding up. They look fabulous. So we may look over time as we free up other dollars and energy conservation to reallocate those dollars. One of the things that's a big issue for us in the summer is a classroom takes us a day to strip and wax. An office takes us a week, believe it or not. And that week is typically at the end of the summer schedule, which is a disruption.
Classroom takes you how long to strip and wax?
Come on, hold on, say that again?
Day or two
Why?
to strip and wax a class.
You gotta move all the.
Gotta move all-
Just because all the stuff you gotta get out of
Oh,
there?
yeah. We got to take everything out, strip it down, and then wax, depending on the climate.
Right.
It could take a couple days.
Conditioning.
But a main office takes a substantial amount of time because you've got to move everything out. There's a lot more stuff in a smaller location, typically not much space to put things, and there's massive disruption. We want these offices to be up and running all year long with no interruption. That's my goal and our commitment to the staff at the school level. LVT may be that product to get us there. Because if we don't have to pull things out to strip and wax, those offices can stay up and running. We could do a general cleaning and it's done. So that's an area where we think LVT makes sense. Hallways, another time consuming thing when it comes to stripping and waxing. Another place LVT may work for us. So now a place where I may need 7 custodians, maybe now I can get away with 6. Right? So we're always looking at innovative ways to bring down the need for staffing and manpower. So the total expense for Storm Ida is $150,000 to $200,000. We're still waiting for some of the invoicing to come in. We're in conversation with FEMA at this point. I just had a conversation on the way down here with Scott Appleby. I'll be meeting with him tomorrow. We're going to be giving him the supporting documentation for this. So there is a potential that we get 70% reimbursement through FEMA for this. So we're working on the documents. That's another bear because there's so much paperwork that goes along with that, but we're going to figure it out and try to get every dollar that we can back.
Yeah.
Question, wouldn't it be easier just to have like one type of flooring? Because I see we're replacing carpet. Isn't carpet like a bear to take care of?
Yes,
It gives you more trouble?
yes.
Why can't we just have all vinyl floors? It's aesthetic.
Yeah.
It's, well, it would be
It's a
aesthetic.
cleanliness issue too, because carpet attracts kinds of stuff.
Right.
It's far harder to clean than tile.
I think that's something we should keep in mind when
Yep.
designing our new buildings and stuff like that.
There-
What's under this floor now?
Concrete.
Just plain concrete? Oh, so we would have to rip up the carpet and.
Well, the carpet's in tile, so if you have to replace,
Yeah.
but if you can't find that tile, that
Yeah.
carpet tile anymore
Well,
after a
but still,
certain part.
dirt gets embedded in the material and you gotta steam clean it.
Yep.
And
It's
it's
extracting, it's time
there it
consuming.
No,
There's a little to
Well, we did look at, we did look at another product in Middletown. There was a couple things in Middletown that I took away that I really have to do more research. A woven carpet. It's a new type of carpet that they're rolling out. There's no piles for things to get into. It's easy to maintain. And then they have polished concrete in all of their hallways, believe it or not. It's a little bit more money, but a hell of a lot less maintenance. So those are options, and those are things that we're currently researching. So the team is looking for other school districts. We're part of an organization called Connecticut School and Building Grounds Association. We're going to be going out to a trade show November 2nd, and we're looking for other districts that have these types of textiles for us to actually go in and look at. We want to see what it looks like 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. So when we make these decisions, we understand what we're getting ourselves into. Sometimes we let the architect drive the bus, or, you know, the person that's looking at it from an aesthetic view, right? We want it to be aesthetically pleasing, but we also need to make sure that we can maintain it to the highest level possible with the least amount of staff.
Yeah, and I'm just wondering about, the cost factor of the different materials, carpet versus, tile, whatever. Carpet a cheaper, is it the cheapest option?
No, carpet's not cheap, because I mean, carpet tiles are fairly expensive. But if I have a choice, I take luxury vinyl tile versus the carpet, because there's minimal maintenance, you know?
Okay, thank you. Something definitely to look at.
I think another thought process that goes into the decision is, what would this room sound like?
Yeah, it's the
The
acoustics.
echo
too.
factor,
Yep.
the acoustics. And is there another way to counter that? Like, you know, panels on the wall, let's say, rather than carpeting to absorb the sound.
It'd be carpet, it'd be panels and different ceiling tiles.
Curtains, who knows?
So, Mr. Garcia, will it be more cheap or more expensive to have a carpet or not?
It's comparable. I mean, they all fall around the same range, right? In cost to install. But people don't look at the cost to maintain. So for me, I drive these guys in construction crazy, because I'm telling them, look, I don't care about you walking away from your construction project, patting yourself on the back. I've got to maintain this. I've got a responsibility to the taxpayer. So I've got to make sure that what you put into this building is something that makes sense. I'm giving them fits right now, basic, but it doesn't matter. We've got to fight back. You know, we've got to take control.
Thank you.
Beautification and landscaping. Tremendous amount of work around the district when we talk about landscaping. I mean, these guys have worked tirelessly. And when I say we've moved mountains, 4 to 7 dump trucks per school when we're talking about limbs and brush. You know, cutting back things 10 feet in some instances. If you look at this campus and drive along this driveway, all those decorative trees, you couldn't even see them. The bushes came all the way out to the curb. We cut that back 15 feet. You know, we did this because we need to be able to have a school environment where there's no place to hide. And when a parent, a student, a staff member pulls up, they feel good about walking up to that facility. Once again, how do we have an impact on education? By the way the building looks, by the way it feels when you walk in. Those are important factors for us. We put out over 100 yards of mulch throughout the district. The district never had mulch. Some of these mulch beds are going to last, some of them aren't, but we're going to know because we're monitoring this stuff regularly. We did some plantings in some areas that were just bare, that just looked terrible. We took a spot on in front of Bassick over at the JFK campus around the perimeter of Dunbar, which if you look at Dunbar, looks like a pillbox. You know, we needed to bring some color, so we did some plantings around the building to make it a little more pleasing, right? To take the eye away from that nasty brick. And then Johnson, we needed to plant something in that triangular piece that drove me crazy. And we planted a tree that the school staff wanted to be planted in that location. We make sure we incorporate the principals, teachers, whoever's there. We try to get some feedback. So it's part of the process, right? To make sure that they understand that we're doing something, we're working with you.
Oh, and we looked at painting Dunbar's exterior, but we scrapped that.
Yeah.
Because of the cost.
Yes. I mean, we're looking at everything at this point. We're leaving nothing unturned. District-wide painting effort. When you go through the documentation in the spreadsheet, you'll see the amount of painting that's been done. This district needed it. You know, it just, once again, I want the kids to walk in and not look at something that is out of whack. Focus on it. Focus on getting educated, you know? So a lot of paintings happen throughout the district, playground fiber in all of the schools, the gym floors we discussed, and then the sanding and restriping of the Blackham gym floor. You know, these are big wins for the district, and you know the staff loves to see this stuff completed. And then miscellaneous items. We've got 2 lots that are in dire need, and you know, me and the superintendent have to discuss, you know, approaching the city. You know, through ESSER, we pulled a lot of things out of their capital plan. And I think there needs to be a reallocation of some of those dollars into some of these issues that we have. We have paving needs throughout, but Marin and JFK campus are in dire need of paving. The dollars are astronomical. Marin is 136K and JFK campus is 600,000 plus. But it needs to happen. There's no excuse. We can't rest on our laurels and we got to fight till it gets done.
Where did these numbers come from?
We had two proposals, one from GPIC and one from Burns. We tried to get a third, but we couldn't get O&G in. This is the average.
What's the difference between the two?
They were very close. I think it was probably 10%, if that.
I'll let you finish this because there was something you said similar a couple of slides before. I'll segue into that.
Another piece that we did this summer was we didn't have a uniform protocol or a process for uniforms. If someone said they needed a uniform, we'd send them to the uniform shop, they'd get some uniforms. Every single member of the department has now been fitted, and now they're starting to get their uniforms delivered. That's important. We want folks to know who we are. We want folks to see the activity that we're undertaking, and we want people to feel safe because they know that we're supposed to be where we are. And uniforms do that. So Mike has the example of how the shirts look. We went with black, dark blue, gray for our logistics guys. They also have the option of neon green. So like that, they're visible. But we needed to make sure that these folks got outfitted. It's only right. There is a requirement that, we provide these things to them. So we made sure that every staff member got addressed this season.
I agree, yeah.
Dumpsters. I didn't get the tonnage and I forgot. That's what we missed, guys. So the purging of the district, you're talking hundreds of dumpsters. We purged the district. And once again, we got vital space back that we're going to be able to put back into the program. When we talk about putting program space back into the program, well, let's take Winthrop as an example. There were areas in Winthrop that were storage areas, classrooms that weren't used because they needed a place to put storage. Since we purged, they gained the space back. We're creating additional classroom space. So we're going in, we're baiting the floor, we're putting up new cabinetry, we're addressing lighting and any other issue in that classroom, and we're handing it back over to the principal. And if you want to see what it looks like, I'd say take a ride out, go to the bottom floor in Winthrop. It's impressive because once again, you need that space. And with COVID, you want to spread folks out a bit. And if you need breakout space, you got breakout space. But that's a commitment on our end to find every usable space. So one of my team members, our asbestos and regulatory compliance guy, I've got him going out and looking at every space in the district. We want to know what their space. And then if we got to redo a space program for the building, we will. I think that's an important feature of what it is that we're trying to accomplish here. Bottle fill stations, we've got 10 on order. Logistically right now, getting things into the district has been very difficult. Lead times that were typically 2 weeks now are 12 weeks, 18 weeks, and in some instances, even longer than that. These bottle fill stations have been on order for some time, but we're gonna do a pilot program in the high schools. We can't use the water fountains. So these fill stations will take the place. We can't replace a 1-for-1. So we're looking at strategic locations, maybe main hallway by the cafeteria. We're still hashing out those minute details, but we're going to utilize the high schools as our testing ground. Reason being is that I've got to put 3 trades, believe it or not, in order to install one of these units. I need my masons, electricians, and plumber. So I need to know what it's going to take in every different textile, whether it's CMU, glazed brick, sheetrock. Doing it in the high schools, this is this ability to see what it's going to take in all of those instances. Then I could build a schedule that makes sense wrapped around how much time it's going to take. So what we like to do is build a schedule, understanding, so we can hold our folks accountable. We don't want to send guys out and say, go at it. We want to say, okay, guys, you got 5 days to accomplish this. So this is helping us through the process. We talked about the furniture donation. Basic school construction, the construction fence is up. We met yesterday with a demo and abatement company. Demo and abatement should start probably in the next week or so. We feel good about the scheduling. Looks like they may be ahead of schedule a bit from the conversations we had yesterday. And there's some savings there. The bids came back, the state contract numbers came back good. They were in our favor. So we feel good about where we are in Bassick at this point.
When they're gonna start the relation from Bassick, the building?
The next week or two, they'll start abating the building. I'm gonna start with Bodine, they'll abate, they'll start to take that down, and then an abatement will start as they're taking that building down. In a second.
How are they gonna do it? They're gonna little by little, a machine?
Or they're gonna take it down. They have to abate the whole thing, and then once that happens, they're just gonna take it down with excavators and start tearing them down.
Okay.
So it'll be something cool to watch as it develops. We've overhauled our fleet through capital funding once again. We bought in 10 vehicles. The department had vehicles that were 1999 and 2005. Frames that were out of whack from plowing and just issues and tremendous expenditures. We didn't just bring in any old vehicles for our carpenters. We bought in a specialized KUV type vehicle so he can put all of his stuff in the vehicle. When we send our guys out, we want them to stay in the field, have everything they need, do their job efficiently, effectively. This gives us the ability to do that. With the old style vans, you couldn't put everything you needed in the van. Now they've got outside doors, they've got walk-in cages. It's just a better situation for them. And it enhances our plow fleet because now we bought in V plows, gives us the ability to get into places that typically we couldn't. So we feel that, we're going to be in good shape this winter. We had a snow prep meeting last week. We've got all our supplies, pins, pistons, everything for the fleet. So we know we're ready. They're going to be getting trained on the new plows. And then we're going to do an in-house rodeo where we're going to sort of do a drill on how to operate in the snow. So the guys are aware of what's going on in advance. We made an investment in a landscape crew through capital purchase. Bought a huge blower that cuts down the time dramatically when they're doing their work. We've got a chipper now, so we can go to work and do things that typically we had to sub out. We can do in-house now. And some other ancillary items that we picked up that are giving us the ability to move faster and more effectively. And then custodial equipment. Once again, looking at the FTE, how do we drive down the need for bodies? Ride-on technology, walk-behind burnishing, things like that. We've looked to bring all of that into the district. We purchased, I think, 6 ride-ons, 6 walk-behind burnishers, some high-level technical bathroom cleaning machines that cut down time. All of that stuff. The final pieces of that order came in today, right? That's the last 3. So that's complete and ready to go. And then there's the miscellaneous training. Once again, we hold folks accountable. Eastern Bag and Paper did a COVID training for our head custodians. We had another training. We had a luncheon with the head custodial staff. And then now they're offering us 10 spots on a SIMS certification. So SIMS is a certification through ISSA, which is one of the largest organizations in the custodial industry. And they're able to put that behind their name now once they pass and they get that certification. So we got 10 folks. All of our head custodian, all our supervisor ones, the high school guys are going. And then we're going to sort of go through the district, pick the guys that we want to build around and get them certified also. But we're going to look to have a program like this every year because we need to invest. We could talk about the product. That's a small portion of the budget. We could talk about the process because it affects the budget. But the biggest piece is the personnel, right? If we could find a 5% or 10% increase in productivity, that's astronomical when it comes to dollars. So that's why we're spending so much time and effort and focusing in on people. And then there's, we rolled out tablets. So working in conjunction with IT, we have Lenovo tablets, and now they're going to be able to do all their work orders on the tablet, take photos, and we have Teams, so I can address the whole electrical group in one message. And I also have an audit trail because every conversation stays on Teams for us. So now I can go back. If there's a question about a detail that we discussed, it's in the thread. And that's worth its weight in gold, because everyone gets the same message at the same exact time. So I'll be meeting with IT again next week to finalize all of the groups. And the guys have the units. They've been using them, starting to get accustomed to them. And, we're building out the protocol for it. So that's a game changer for us because it gives us the ability to interact at a different level and at a speed that we haven't been able to interact in. So I'm ready for any questions.
Yes, I have 2 questions for you, Mr. Garcia. First of all, are they the custodians that keep doing cleaning the school the way it is, about the COVID-19 and sanitizer, they keep doing
Yes.
the same way
Yes.
first time, right?
Yep.
And my second question for you, what's going on with Fall School in Edison? We know the situation about the numbers. Gonna keep having the school? Are we gonna try for 1 to 2 to 1? We're gonna make a new one. So I just want to know the plan.
I think that's a bigger picture question. I think that's something me and the superintendent have discussed, the need for facilities master plan. We need to look at the district from a different perspective. Years ago, the district bought in Dijon to do a facilities master plan that really drove the construction program. So there's two things, you know, you get to understand your space, your demographics, where kids are, where they're moving, but then you get the facilities piece that calls out, you know, what the needs are in each individual facility, what facilities are outdated that don't fit the program no more, and what facilities you need to close due to age, deterioration, or the fact that you just don't have the students in that part of town to fill these buildings up. And then that's the catalyst for us to go back to the city council and say, look, we need Blackham, Winthrop, Reed, Skane, Park City Magnet. That's the hit list for us to do renovations and figure out. You know, we're at the end of this first school building construction program, right, with Bassett.
Mhm.
We need to reinvigorate this thing and start up the next wave. And that's going to happen through a facilities master plan. It's a big picture thing. It takes a lot of different departments to bring it all together. But I think it's a healthy time for us to start looking in that direction and figure out what's next with our schools.
All right, thank you. And I have to say, this is what I call a report. Thank you, I appreciate that. This is what I like, you know, to see, to read. If you answer all the questions, we don't answer too much because you give it to us everything we want to hear. And really, this is what I call a great report.
Thank you.
Thank to you, thank you for your team, and we appreciate everything you do, Mr.
I give them all the credit.
I know.
These
But
guys
it's just a
work
team.
hard.
It's a team, it's a
Yeah,
good communication,
for sure.
working together. I appreciate that.
Our saying is teamwork makes the dream work.
So the only things I have to add, couple of things. This illustrates something that I've been saying for a really long time, Mr. Testa. There have been phenomenal sums of money spent here. And we have policy that says anything 25,000 and above needs to come to the board for approval. If that practice was followed, can you imagine any of this work getting done? And I'm not, this is not, I'm just saying that if every one of these things had to come to the board before he could do it, or if he did that, if he followed the exact process, the way it's outlined, would this ever get done in a summer? No. And that's my point. I think we really need to take a strong look at the level of involvement we have in these kinds of things. Because, you know, we had Mr. Garrity come here for the nutrition stuff and jump through hoops and explain. He didn't do any of that. And this is not saying he's a violator or something needs to happen to him, but I'm just saying, if he had to do that for every one of these things, he'd have to wait 2 years before he could do any of it. So we need to really take a strong look at our own policies and examine to what degree this group needs to be involved in these kinds of things. I mean, where I come from, as long as it's a low bid and it's a justifiable low bid, board does not get involved.
And
It is what it is, the numbers are the numbers, and you just move forward, and I'm gonna go to something else for that, but.
And in some cases, it's not about low bid. It's also about experience. It's also about the capacity to do having done projects that are comparable.
Right.
Because as you folks saw at the school building
I was
committee,
just gonna get to that.
low bid does not necessarily mean,
Best.
or the same. It's not comparable.
And that's segueing into the next thing. You talked about these two paving projects that you got bids for. And you said they're comparable, but I think you also need to consider, I think you should, work with Tony Pires, put together an RFP to retain the services of an estimating firm.
I am all on board.
You guys don't, there's nothing against you.
No, I agree.
But everyone has their specialty.
Mhm.
There are people, estimating is a
Art.
profession and an art. There are people who do this,
Yes.
and they will give you a complete independent number you should be looking at when you do get your bids in.
Mhm.
Because like he said at the school building committee, they had an independent estimate of, I think it was, I'm gonna use round numbers, $9 million. 2 bids were received, one for 5.8 million and the other for like 8.
Yes.
And initially you would say 5.8 million, low bid, we're saving money. But when you compare that to your estimate, that's the red flag. Why is this so different? Is our estimate flawed or is the bid flawed? Or maybe there's a good reason. But if you don't have that independent estimate, when you get two numbers, you get numbers that are all over the place. You have no baseline to say what number is good or bad or anything to try to delve in deeper. So, I would encourage you to put together an RFP to retain an estimating service for construction and related type projects. Capital funding would pay for it. If you've got a capital project and you're going to spend $2,000 on an estimating service, the grant will pay for it. But it gives you a level of security.
Yes.
And knowledge that when you get your bids in, it all makes sense. I'll give you just a brief example of my own experience. Just recently, I bid out a painting project. Our estimate was 22 million. Painting, a very big thing. 22 million.
I'd say.
Okay.
I'll do it for 20.
So 22 million was the estimate. The lowest bid was 12, followed by 14, followed by, I think it was 30. So we were stumped. What's wrong with our estimate? So we had a meeting with the lowest bid contractor. And we discovered that what he had done was, because he was already mobilized in the area, he didn't have to spend as much money mobilizing to this location. And he was also doing a lot of work at cost, because this was like the first public work job in New York after COVID hit. And they were just trying to get their people to work. So they were willing to take a hit. And so now we understood this. And so it made sense. And so that low bid got it. But I just, at the risk of harping on it, we're going to put together an RFP for an estimating service and you
love it.
use it.
I love it. I love it. Because right now we lean on, the relationships you build in the industry, but you can only go to the well so much, and I know that me being back, I've been able to utilize a lot of that as leverage to get folks to give me some insight, but I think that's ideal, especially as we look to the shock therapy the district needs,
In the scenario of the school building committee, I mean, if they got those two bids in and didn't have an estimate,
It would have been a nightmare.
they would have just gone with the
Yeah.
5.8 million.
And it would have cost us more in the long run.
And it would have cost you more. So.
I mean,
you should do that.
The challenge is also, we deal with purchasing that changes regularly.
Mhm.
The purchasing policies change on a dime. Like right now I'm dealing with the fact that I have to call in an outside vendor at 12 o'clock Thursday night because we had an issue at Dunbar and the fire department wouldn't clear the building unless I got an electrician in. And we thought it might have been switchgear. We needed someone special. I made the phone call. I said, get them in. Let's do what we got to do. Now purchasing is going to give me hell because it's an emergency. You have to get authorization for an emergency. But in this instance of emergencies, having to go through all these approval processes, if I have a unit that goes out that's providing ventilation to the school and it's $25,000 to change a shaft, and X company has the shaft in stock and can come do the job, following the purchasing ordinance, I have to submit that to purchasing. They submit it to city attorneys, and there's a 10-day turnaround time for that emergency. These are the things.
That's not an emergency.
Yeah.
So.
So these are the things that we deal with on a regular basis that are also a challenge to us being able to do what we do. But, we appreciate the fact that you understand that estimation is a big deal because, that's been a hard piece for us to sell.
And we should,
Tony on that.
or,
First thing.
or, like.
Well, not tomorrow. He's not in tomorrow. When he
When he gets back, have a call.
first thing.
Something
You call him.
we can address too, is establishing some kind of process, maybe independent of the city, or some sort of verbal authorizations in emergency situations. I run into those too.
Yeah.
As long as you can justify it and say, look, if I don't do this, somebody's going to get killed or we're going to incur a really big bill.
Yes.
So.
And I make those calls and I'll fall on the sword if I have to. I mean, at the end of the day, we've got to provide a safe and healthy environment. And you've got to be able to be nimble and address those issues.
So, all right, I guess that's enough of that.
Any other questions?
I think so.
We had discussion and possible action to mitigate extreme heat conditions in school buildings. This was actually Jessica Martinez initiative. She's not here to
Yeah.
talk about this.
George and I talked briefly yesterday. I mean, we have at least 180 days mandated by the state
For what?
for school to be in session.
Oh, right. Okay.
So short of removing all the possible days off that are not federal holidays or contractual, that there's
Well,
no,
if they're contractual, you can negotiate.
well, contractual meaning I mean, why would a custodians union give up not working on Monday, for example? Or they're 12-month employees. These are their days off by the federal law.
Okay.
They're not going to say, I'll come in on those days, because there's,
No.
what are you exchanging it for? They work in the summer anyway. So that being said, we have to work 180 school days. There is no way we're going to be able to start and finish in a cool season. There's just no way. I mean, to go from September 15th, say, if it's till end of May, is impossible.
Well, hang on. So we open the week after Labor Day?
No, we open this year was August 30th.
Before Labor Day.
Right, because you have to remember, the teachers work 5 additional days, administrators work, well, not next year, starting 10 addition, but regardless. So even if we started the day after Labor Day, that would just kick us out further in June. So it's not like it's getting any cooler in June. So the ability to operate schools in a cool season
Well, the next,
is physically impossible.
well, I guess the next question is, how many buildings are we talking about that have like no AC?
Significant number. I mean, we're trying to mitigate, obviously, what we talked about, Cross and Columbus, simply because they've had renovations done already.
Mhm.
We need a brand new Park City Magnet. We need a renovate as new of Blackham, of Winthrop. Skane, we would hope to incorporate in a new building over at Park City. You have Hall, you have Edison.
List goes on.
Right, so,
You have Essex, so there's some rooms are hot, the ones.
you're gonna have a new Bassett, so that's gonna come up.
But I'm talking about, until
But,
now, but we have rooms, they are terrible.
But so knowing that, I mean, what has to be either renovated or completely replaced? And I don't say that you know the answer to that right now, but I'm saying, he's talking about a plan for the next wave, as he calls it.
Right.
After we built this final new building, and now we're going to have a series of various renovations, maybe other replacements, or
That's gonna take,
major systems replacements.
you're looking at 15 to 20 years to get all that done. Because one building is contingent upon relocating to do it. And then them going back, and then, and we have to have a swing space, which means that needs to be identified some way or somehow.
We can build a school every 3 years.
If the state,
Right, and not everything necessarily is appropriate to be replaced. Some renovation, or even just a replacement of a system,
no, but these have no systems. There's no system.
but to install a complete new one.
Right, so like at Cross, we're looking at $5 million roughly.
Columbus, right around the same number.
Right. You look at Winthrop, Blackhams, those are huge numbers, if it's even doable based on the ceiling height and classroom size and access. So, I mean, that all has to be in part of a total renovate as new, where you're tearing everything down.
So,
And what do you do while you're doing this? What do you do with the kids? Because this isn't a job that's done over the summer.
no.
So,
But I think it's something that's got to be looked at.
Right, as part of the facilities master plan, we have to sit down and start to prioritize. I mean, we've talked about this, a brand new Park City magnet with Skane incorporated into it is an easy one. We have the property already. It's right on the site that currently exists. Then that Park City magnet can be utilized as a swing space. It'll be a little tricky, but we can do that to it. Bassick, it doesn't look like we can use as swing space, according to Larry Schilling yesterday when we talked about
Both buildings?
neither building, because we're aware of PCB, so we would have to remediate that prior to doing it, which could be upwards of $10 million.
So
So,
you wouldn't tell me, just in case, like, if we're talking about Bassick, I know that will take years to have the new ones. Like, let's see, this side is hot, the other one's cold, you cannot control it, if you turn it off the heat, you would turn off the heat or lower heat, you turn off the heat, but
conditioning at Bassick, so.
I know, but I'm talking about now in the winter, the heat is terrible. Some room are like 100. The other room is cold. So, and it's sometimes next to, sometimes I know it's the pipe, I understand, situation, but it's bad because, I see it. I will say it was very,
That we can help, we were able to combat a little bit because you can open a window to cool it down. But I think Jessica's point to bring it to the agenda was to try to have school when it's not hot outside. And I mean, this is the way it's been for 100 years. I mean, there's nothing you can do about it.
So even if you took away, say, a spring break, to pull your June date in by a week. Because currently you shoot for mid-June, right?
You shoot for mid-June barring no snow day, so you can pull it back a week. What are you getting out of that? 5
Well,
days?
but our snow days even, anything to be considered anymore now that we have remote.
Remote is not an option for snow days per the State Department of Ed this year and going forward. So
So instead of calling a snow day, you could not call it remote day.
it's off the table. Correct. That was made very clear. And I think it was mentioned at a board meeting early on, before we opened school. So that is off the table. It's on the record.
Okay.
So I call a snow day. No one's going to say you should have went remote because I have no option of remote.
Okay. Whatever happened to this committee that the mayor's office established shortly before COVID, specifically for a BOE facilities master plan?
COVID
Maybe
happened.
Maybe reach out to them, try to get that going again. And
Well, I think we can
Make this a
start out
priority.
with our own internal
Yeah.
ideas.
I'm just talking about if we have buy-in on the city end, maybe they'll bond for some things.
I think that's why we need to start on our end, putting some stuff on paper
Okay.
so that they have something to buy into rather than waste time at meetings trying to have these discussions. I think going right to them with, hey, Park City Magnet, get approval from the state. Try to get that moving first. I mean, that's a great building to hit. Like I said, you don't have to acquire any land. Skane goes there. Now either we have another plot of land. I think the city can make significant dollars with the Skane property. Either the Jewish home on Park Avenue would take that as a footprint all the way to Madison, or the Fox Ledge, they're wedged in between, maybe another condo development. But I think that's,
Okay.
and then that money can be utilized maybe for somewhere else to purchase some land and build another school. I mean, those are the things that we have options for.
Okay.
I mean, you could build a new Blackham school, maybe if you purchase the Stop and Shop site, for example. Don't know if somebody would sell it, but I think they would be interested. Just sold. There you go.
We're looking at every available space just because that's what we do. And we just found out they sold it. 4.5 mil, was it?
I didn't get the dollars, but
That's pretty cheap.
It was not astronomical.
I'll reach out though, once we get something.
Yeah, to get this
Sketched out.
initiative moving.
Yeah, we're shifting now because obviously, there was a lot of work to get school back open, the extraordinary summer we had. Now we can sort of, as projects sort of dwindle down, we move into maintenance mode. It gives us the ability to sort of take a harder look at everything else. And we're going to assess every building and interior, exterior, and get a sense of what the needs are.
Okay. All right,
Chair, before we, during the meeting, I have a question for you, and I know I asked this so many times. Why the recent agenda we didn't have security today?
this agenda alone took us 90 minutes.
I know, but I already asked for security.
I need to have an understanding of what it is you want to know about security, because security,
The example, let me see.
Hang on.
See, give a report and, some report from security, from Lieutenant Greg, because, we have him there to give a report what's going on in the buildings, what's going on, so.
well, he gave a specific report about what he did over the summer. Security is a very sensitive thing. There are elements to it that you maybe don't want to be live streaming. So it would be helpful if you could give me a sense of what kind of things you want to know about security. I know you had a lot of questions about overtime, and those seemed to have been answered. But if there are other specific things that you want to know, let me know. And I can let Lieutenant Greg know, and he can determine whether he feels it's appropriate to discuss certain things in public or not.
Mhm.
So let me know what it is you're really trying to find out.
Okay.
We'll get it to Lieutenant Greg. He can put together a presentation on things he thinks is appropriate to be public.
Yeah.
And go from there.
All right, sound good. I will do it.
Not available tonight.
And he wasn't even available.
And that's fine, but I just want to know because every time I ask, but I'm gonna do what you said, Mr. Jordan. I'm gonna send you the information so you can present us
Okay.
what we want. Okay.
And Mr. Chair, to further that, if Mr. Bennett happens to have questions that are of a sensitive nature, those I believe would qualify for executive session to move off and have them answered to us.
It's not in the statute. I'll check with Floyd, but I don't think that's,
Security protocols and.
All right, well.
I'm pretty sure.
we'll look into. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Or second? I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? You want to roll right into governance? Thank you, George.
Thank you, guys. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm good.
Thanks, guys.